The value of a top sniper lies not only in killing specific targets, but also in eliminating as many enemies as possible. The time is 2007, the Iraq War is nearing its end, and the US president has announced the launch of a reconstruction plan for Iraq. At this time, 2 well-equipped US military snipers are ordered to investigate an Iraqi sniper active at an oil pipeline construction site. Under the scorching sun, they have been squatting here for a long 20 hours. 8 people have already been sniped at the construction site. What was even more chilling was that, aside from 1 guard responsible for communications who had not been shot in the head, the other 7 were all killed instantly with a single shot to the head. There was no other movement at the scene. Even the well-trained US military, after such a long wait, inevitably relaxed their vigilance. Although Isaac advocated sticking to his duty and continuing to hold the line, Matthews, hoping for a stroke of luck, could not hold back. He decided to risk going forward to check the situation in order to evacuate as soon as possible and get rid of this tormenting stakeout. In the end, Isaac stayed behind to provide long-range support for his companion. After entering the incident scene, Matthews maintained a cautious gait and continued to explore this empty and desolate area. He even showed off a dance step in a slightly relaxed manner after confirming initial safety. However, just then, a sudden change occurred. The spotting scope left by their fallen comrade Dean in Isaac's hand suddenly fogged up, making effective observation impossible. This was by no means a good omen. A trace of intense unease instantly flashed through Matthew's mind.
Can you tell where it came from? You know what? Get the hell out of there, bro.
Hey, eyes. Just check that the... Oh!
God, shit, I'm hit.
Matthews was instantly hit in the hip by the enemy sniper who had been hidden for a long time and was brought down on the spot. Isaac, witnessing this from a distance, immediately grabbed the equipment beside him, held up his M4A1 carbine, and sprinted at full speed toward where Matthews had fallen to support him. On the way, several bullets whizzed in, and Isaac thrillingly avoided them with agile, irregular, evasive movements. However, the moment he rushed to Matthews' side, a bullet suddenly hit his radio. Before he could assess this sudden impact, another bullet followed and hit his knee hard. Before Isaac could stand firm, yet another bullet hit his backpack again. Facing a huge threat to his life, Isaac could completely no longer care about the fallen Matthews. He quickly ran to a nearby wall and leaped, trying to avoid the enemy sniper's line of sight. The gunfire finally stopped. Isaac pressed close to the ruined wall, still in shock, his face pale and almost suffocating. It was not until this moment that he truly felt the bone-piercing pain coming from his knee. He looked down and saw that his knee had been hit by a sniper bullet. There was a large hole, and it had caused a comminuted fracture. Before the pain subsided, Isaac's thoughts sharply focused on Matthews, who was still within the enemy sniper's effective firing range. At this moment, Matthews knew clearly that his recklessness had not only put himself in danger, but also directly dragged Isaac into a dead end. He spoke very fast through the walkie-talkie, delivering his personal last words. Isaac's mind was clear as a mirror. The sniper in the dark was executing a cold-blooded tactic of besieging a point to strike reinforcements. He could only futilely use a hoarse voice to comfort his comrades struggling in pain in a pool of blood. Matthews's intermittent reminders woke Isaac up with a start, and he cast his gaze toward the radio not far away. Isaac gritted his teeth and dragged his injured leg to crawl forward, but every movement triggered a tearing pain that almost made him unable to breathe. He had to stop, use his trembling hands to quickly pull out a tactical tourniquet and tightly strangle the root of his thigh. The piercing pain brought by tightening the tourniquet rod instantly swept through his whole body, and his vision went black in bursts, almost dragging him into a coma. Subsequently, he marked the time on the tourniquet to help subsequent medical personnel quickly judge the progress of the injury. Completing this critical first aid step, he immediately reached out and dragged the radio to his side. However, the most suffocating despair descended at this moment. The antenna of the radio was impressively completely destroyed in the precise shooting just now, leaving only a section of twisted metal stub. His contact with the outside world was completely cut off at this moment. A colder despair instantly drowned Isaac like a tide, and for the first time, he felt he had completely lost control of the situation. Meanwhile, Matthews had calmed down from his violent struggling. After looking around, he immediately connected to Isaac's communication. He believed that if he could find the sniper's position, he might have a chance to hit him. Hearing this, Isaac immediately expressed his objection. He believed that before Matthews reached for his gun, he would suffer a fatal blow.
Come on, man, where'd he come from?
I don't know.
Crack bang, what's the distance?
After calming down, Isaac realized that Matthews' idea might be right. Instead of sitting and waiting for death, it was better to take the initiative. He carefully hooked up the spotting scope on the ground with his toe. Then he tried to pick out a small hole in the dilapidated wall to place the lens. However, an anxious state of mind is often accompanied by accidents. The loose rubble of the wall suddenly collapsed, smashing hard onto his fingers, and piercing pain struck again. Enduring the severe pain, he finally fixed the spotting scope properly and immediately reported the situation to Matthews. But the other end of the communication was dead silent. Matthews had completely lost consciousness. Isaac's gaze fell on the shocking bowl-sized wound on his knee. He knew he had to take out the bullet head inside. This required great courage. He struggled to do the most basic bandaging to stop the bleeding for the wound, and then, exhausted, he also fell into a coma. Not knowing how long he had slept, Isaac was awakened by a sudden call in his earphones. After recognizing the other party's precise military terminology, he felt like he had grabbed a life-saving straw and eagerly poured out his condition and his request for immediate evacuation.
Copy that. Stand by.
However, after a long wait, the rescue helicopter he expected did not appear for a long time. The anxious Isaac pressed the talk button again to call the other party.
Radio Lima Charlie. You're on a radio feed and we do not want to move beyond range of your signal. Do you copy?
Beyond range of my signal? You're already in my local radio. Are you close?
Without waiting for Isaac to think carefully, the other party immediately requested identity confirmation. Isaac, without thinking deeply, unhesitatingly reported his military ID number and full name. After getting confirmation that the other party had dispatched a helicopter, he subconsciously picked up the bullet head he had just taken out of his knee wound. With his experience as a sniper, he instantly recognized that this bullet was a .308 Winchester, and the opponent was likely using a Tango 51 sniper rifle. Suddenly realizing that he was still facing a sniper, Isaac immediately notified the other party that they should send a drone for reconnaissance to confirm the threat before the operation. However, the other party made an extremely absurd request at this moment. He required Isaac to provide a security code to implement the rescue. This simply did not conform to the standard U.S. military rescue procedure. A sense of absurdity instantly washed away Isaac's expectations, and he began to question the other party's identity. But the other party calmly recited Isaac's complete operation process and specific targets without a single error. This sudden knowledge made the already skeptical Isaac even more confused. Immediately after, the other party made an even more incredible request. He asked Isaac to fire a shot into the sky to determine his precise location.
This ain't Ranger School. The fucking shooter will get a fucking lock on my position.
Help you unless I know your location. Do you copy?
Isaac hesitated, tentatively took out his pistol, and slowly held it high. This action obviously violated all battlefield survival rules. In a flash of returning reason, he immediately lowered the muzzle again. In the subsequent conversation, a few slang terms inadvertently used by the other party that were not American finally allowed Isaac to catch a flaw. At this moment, he realized that the person on the other end of the radio was not one of his own. Seeing his identity exposed, the other party did not conceal it at all. With a trace of cruel banter, he calmly admitted that he was the sniper in the dark, Juba. Juba claimed that he was just an ordinary Iraqi. He hated the American invasion and hated the Americans even more for stealing his country's oil wealth without a bottom line. It was the war that honed him into a hunter specializing in killing U.S. troops. At this moment, Isaac had no intention of chatting with this mortal enemy, but Juba seemed bored from hiding for a long time and actually proposed in a teasing tone that Isaac talk about his military life and family. Isaac suppressed his anger and dealt with Juba superficially, while his mind raced to find a way to cope. While responding in a low voice, he struggled to use the spotting scope to eagerly scan the surroundings for possible sniper hiding spots based on the angle of bullet entry. After finding nothing, he held his breath and concentrated, trying to recall that the interval between the moment of impact and hearing the gunshot was about 4 seconds. He multiplied the speed of sound, 340 meters per second, by 4 seconds, to get a distance of 1,360 meters. But bullet flight also takes time. He quickly estimated the muzzle velocity and trajectory of the Tango 51 sniper rifle bullet, converting the bullet flight time into sound propagation distance. Finally, his chaotic mental arithmetic resulted in a vague figure. The target might be about 1,550 meters away. However, this vague distance calculation seemed pale and powerless in the face of complex terrain, and the opposing sniper's experience was obviously far superior to his. Just then, the corner of Isaac's eye suddenly caught a glimpse of the radio next to the guard's corpse not far away. This might be the only chance for survival. He immediately steadied his mind, and while continuing to contain the sniper with family topics, he gritted his teeth, dragged his injured leg, and crawled silently toward the end of the low wall closest to the radio. After reaching the top of the wall with difficulty, Isaac found a wooden stick and tried to hook the radio back.
What about, Sergeant?
But obviously the stick could not reach it at all. Hope was instantly dashed, and a deep sense of powerlessness struck. Just at this moment, Juba's voice sounded again in the earphones, and this time he carried a tone of inquiry. He was very curious why Isaac was still using the spotting scope that Dean had used before he died, which was already not working well. Hearing this, a trace of panic instantly appeared in Isaac's eyes. However, Juba pointed his gun at Matthews, whose life or death was unknown. He threatened Isaac that if he didn't continue the topic of Dean, he would blow Matthews's head off. Isaac had already shown panic. He began fumbling with his backpack, trying to find his water bottle to cover up the panic in his heart. He unscrewed the cap and tilted his head to pour the last bit of water down his throat. At this very moment, he suddenly realized there was impressively a tiny bullet hole on the side wall of the water bottle. Although extremely amazed, he merely treated the damage to the water bottle as a coincidence of his own bad luck.
Are you dehydrated? I know that. That's why I aimed at your water bottle.
No, you didn't. You were trying to hit me.
No, the water bottle.
Nobody's that accurate.
And your antenna.
Oh,
And your knee. I know. The popliteal vein in your leg carries enough blood that no matter what kind of bandaging you have, you will still be sitting in a puddle of plasma. You're feeling fatigued, lightheaded, and you will bleed out before nightfall.
As blood loss intensified, Isaac's consciousness began to blur. In the communication channel, Juba was sternly accusing the U.S. military of invading his motherland. Isaac forced himself to stay alert, using that standard U.S. military bullet to testify that the opponent had been trained by the U.S. military and denounced him as a traitor and ungrateful. And it was also at this time that Isaac heard the sound of flapping sheet metal coming from the earphones. This sound perfectly matched the sound of sheet metal swaying in the wind on the garbage dump not far away. Subsequently, Isaac made a move that made Juba laugh wildly. Isaac used his carbine to prop up his jacket and then placed his helmet on the muzzle. He wanted to use this to disguise himself as a dummy to trick Juba into shooting, thereby determining Juba's position.
where are you?
The ploy failed. Desperate, Isaac took out his Beretta M92F pistol and pressed it against his jaw, but then he gave up on this idea. Just then, a strong wind rose. The sky full of yellow sand gave Isaac a chance. He quickly rushed to the guard's corpse, successfully obtained the radio, and took the guard's backpack. Only then did he discover that this guard was also shot in the knee. Without thinking much, the strong wind rose again, and Isaac got up again and ran behind the wall. Just at this time, Juba fired a series of shots at Isaac, and the thin wall began to collapse continuously under the impact of the bullets. Isaac, who could completely no longer care about the pain, could only struggle to crawl to the other end to find cover. After confirming safety, he impatiently found a small bottle of mineral water in the backpack and drank it all in one gulp. Then he found a pack of Skittles to barely boost his energy. Feeling slightly relieved, Isaac immediately checked the radio he had risked his life to retrieve. However, to his despair, this radio was also damaged by a bullet and could not be used. Even worse, the spotting scope was also smashed during the wall collapse just now and could not be used. Just then, the noise of sound waves suddenly came from the earphones. It seemed to be some kind of signal. A moment later, Isaac suddenly realized that it was Matthews not far away calling him. Since the walkie-talkie was occupied by the enemy, Matthews had to take out a lens piece to signal to Isaac that he was still alive. This was undoubtedly the most inspiring news for Isaac today. He excitedly told Matthews that the enemy sniper was hiding in the garbage dump. Matthews carefully turned the lens piece and saw that garbage dump. Immediately, his hand slowly reached for the M24 sniper rifle nearby. Meanwhile, Isaac hurriedly looked for topics to try to distract Juba's attention. After moving extremely slowly, Matthews finally held the M24 sniper rifle, and then he quickly mounted the gun trying to aim. However, Juba had obviously noticed Matthew's movement and issued a stern warning to Isaac in the communication. In a moment of urgency, Isaac immediately raised his carbine and fired into the sky to attract Juba's attention. But Matthews failed to pinpoint the target. He could only blindly fire 4 shots in the direction of the garbage dump for suppressive fire. Just in the gap when he emptied the magazine and reloaded, a bullet precisely hit Matthews in the shoulder. Seeing Matthews hit, Isaac cried out in the communication, begging Juba to cease fire, and screamed for Matthews to crawl over the wall to take shelter. But Juba showed no mercy, followed by a shot hitting Matthews in the head, killing him on the spot. Matthews' death completely destroyed Isaac's psychological defense.
I did. He went to go confirm a kill. Enemy sniper. Guy was playing possum. Started shooting at Dean. I tried shooting back, but bullet went right through Dean. Oh man, I lied. I fucking lied so much. Trying to keep the story straight. I lied to everybody. I lied to every single person except you. I fucking lied.
After pouring out his deep secrets, a flash of inspiration struck Isaac's mind. He immediately crawled to the 2 scrapped radios and quickly dismantled parts. Soon, a radio capable of normal communication was assembled. However, when he connected to the channel, he was shocked to hear the captain talking to the enemy sniper. The opponent was impersonating Isaac's voice and was calling for a U.S. rescue helicopter. Isaac instantly understood the truth. The opponent had long invaded U.S. communications. He first killed the guards watching the oil pipe, then impersonated the guards to call Isaac's sniper team to come. Now, the opponent was impersonating Isaac's sniper squad to call for a rescue helicopter. This was simply a carefully designed trap of besieging a point to strike reinforcements. Subsequently, unwilling to resign himself to fate, Isaac tied a long wooden stick with a rope and successfully obtained Matthews's sniper rifle. He decided to make a last stand before the rescue helicopter arrived. Shortly after, the roar of the helicopter came from far to near. Isaac propped up his body and used all his strength to shake the already crumbling wall. The wall crashed down, instantly stirring up dust all over the sky, forming an excellent natural smokescreen. Taking the opportunity, Isaac immediately lay down and operated the M24 sniper rifle to aim in the direction of the garbage dump. At this time, unable to confirm whether Juba was hit, he summoned up his courage and suddenly stood up to probe. Half a minute passed and the bullet did not penetrate his head. Isaac instantly breathed a sigh of relief. After being lifted onto the stretcher, Isaac weakly asked the soldiers to search the garbage dump carefully. But the helicopter noise was deafening, and the soldiers could not hear his shouting at all. Just as the helicopter swept over the garbage dump, a soldier was precisely hit in the head by a shot and killed, immediately followed by 2 more gunshots. The helicopter fuselage shook violently, and the rotor then made a piercing, abnormal sound. Obviously, the engine had been hit by Juba. Isaac screamed desperately in the direction of the garbage dump, but the helicopter had lost control and began to spin wildly, then fell rapidly.
Kilo Bulldog 17, Kilo Bulldog 35. This is Baghdad Command. How copy? Bulldog 17. How copy?
This is Bulldog 17. Reading you Lima Charlie. Over.